Welcome to part 2 of a video tutorial on how to create a template with APA format. Please open the template document that we named and saved in the part 1 video. Let's scroll down to page 2. Double-click in the header area. Go up to page number. Click top of page. Go over to plain number 3. And the number 2 shows up over by your right-hand margin. Now we're going to backspace twice to bring our blinking cursor to the left margin so we can complete our running head. You'll remember in our first video that the first page running head actually includes the word running head and then our shortened title in all caps. On page 2 we simply have our shortened title in all caps. Now we can push the tab key to move our page number back over to the right margin. And I will correct my spelling. There we go. Now we can close the header either with this key or by double-clicking in our paper. Excuse me. We're now ready to create our abstract. Let's go learn how. Page 25-27 in the APA manual has instructions for creating the abstract, and I highly recommend that you go and read those instructions. On the top line of our page, page 2, where we're at in our document now, the word abstract is centered and not bolded. The body of the abstract, the paragraph of the abstract, will not be indented. It is the only paragraph, the only page where we do not use first line indents in APA. The abstract is a brief comprehensive summary of the paper. It has a word limit of 150 to 250 words, and it is written after the paper is completed, so it more accurately summarizes the contents of the paper. Let's return to our paper and type the word abstract, centered, not bolded. Click enter. Use the left align key to bring us to the left-hand margin. This is where you type your abstract, not indented. Now that the space for your abstract is prepared, we're going to, we'll put an enter key in here a few more times, and we're going to hit the control enter to insert a page break and bring us to, as you can see, page number 3. Now, page number 3 of our APA template starts working on the body of the paper. We had our title page, our abstract page, and now we start with our body page. The body page always begins with an introduction. However, before we start on the introduction, we want to have a few things. Actually, no, let's go to one of our resources on introduction first. APA format dictates that the body of the paper begins with the introduction. Since the introduction is known, keywords, is known to be the first section, the word introduction is never used as a heading. Instead, the title of the paper is repeated, centered at the top of the page, prior to the section that is known to be the introduction. The repeated title is not bolded. So let's go back to our paper. We'll center, and we're going to put our repeated title, which, oops, I need to have that capitalized. In this case, on our template, actually would have been APA template. However, I think it's probably more clear if I put repeated title in here for the purposes of this tutorial. Then we'll click enter, and now we want to be left aligned, and we're actually going to format now how Word will put the information in. Okay, we're going to be typing information into this blank canvas. But first, let's form it to have it go in a certain way. So, do you remember the paragraph dialog box? This little arrow up here? Let's go back to that. We have left alignment, no indentation, except we are going to go to special indentation now, do the drop down caret, and we're going to ask first line indentation, because everything except the abstract, all the body of our paper, all paragraphs should have a first line indent. And we'll say OK. Now, I want you to note how that has brought your cursor over. This is the left margin, and this arrow indicates that we have set the first line indent. Okay? So, now as you type words in here, words, 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 space, 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 words, 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 space, 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 words, space, 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 words, space, 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 words, space, space, words. Now you can see how your paragraph would start to take shape. I want you to note that I was only typing letters and spaces. I did not hit enter at any point. You do not need to hit enter at any point unless you are creating a new paragraph. So where I am here, I write a little more, I click enter, and my cursor automatically goes to first line indent again to start a new paragraph. Oops, paragraph. There we go. Oh, can't spell today. So you don't have to hit the enter key unless you are actually starting on a new line, new paragraph. So now that we have a space to put our introduction, I'm going to remove these, and we are going to go learn about let's see, are we learning more about introductions or are we learning more about headings? Oh, introduction. Yes. Your repeated title. And the introduction of your template should contain what you would like to know about writing introductions. So when you use your template to write a paper, all the information you need is very handy. I'm not writing all that information here. You need to go and read and understand the information on pages 27 to 28 in your APA manual. Then you can put that information into your template. Now that we have the introduction done, we can go and learn about headings. APA headings are used to create organization, so your writing is easier to read. You need to read pages 62 and 63 in your manual so you can understand the use of headings. There are 5 levels of APA headings. Although it is likely you will only use the first 2 or 3 levels in your nursing program papers, for your template, we do want you to address all 5 levels. As you prepare to write a paper, plan out your headings. A good way to plan out your headings is to create headings that correlate to the grading tool or rubric, grading rubric, that accompanies each of your assignments. So in addition to the directions regarding headings in your manual, you should look at the grading rubric for the assignment that you're working on and make sure that your headings will correlate. This will ensure that you address each section of the grading rubric, you don't leave any out, and that your instructor can easily see what you intended to cover in each section. Use the grading rubric for the template assignment to create the headings in the APA template you are building. So for this APA template assignment, look at the APA template grading rubric and use those points to help you create the headings in your template. The rubric points will help you to learn about important APA formatting, such as how to create citations, how to handle quotes, block quotes, and quotes from electronic sources. They'll also help you understand when and when not to use abbreviations. Now let's go back to our document. I'm coming back to my one I've prepared ahead so that I can show you a couple things. The repeated title that we made in our document, we were careful to make sure that it was centered. However, if I had already set, like if I was making a heading, let me just go down a little bit to my next heading. There we go. Because I have my first line indents already set in the previous section, then when I make this heading, it will automatically be first line indented. Can you see the difference now between this centered title and this indented heading? It looks wonky. So if you see this, or better yet, always with your titles, with your headings, put your cursor on them and then go up here and check and make sure that you are in fact following the setting that you want. Okay? If you want something to be first line indented, great, there you go. If you don't want it to be first line indented, you want it to be centered, then take the triangle back over to the left margin. So with this one, I will take the triangle back over to the left margin. So now my heading is actually centered, just like my repeated title. Okay, now we're going to cover a little bit about writing. Writing can be very organized and clear. However, this does not happen by chance. We have all read studies or reports that were hard to understand or follow. Do you want your name on something like that? You are not just here to get through the nursing degree program, you are here to learn and improve. This is an opportunity for you to become an organized, clear communicator. Plan out the sections and headings for your paper prior to writing the content. I'd like to give you as an example the fact that I have chosen my first level 1 heading, which your papers will always start with level 1 heading, and I've chosen it to be writing. Because I'm addressing in this section clear writing and organized writing, I have chosen to make my level 2 headings to match that, organized writing and clear writing. Now, I would only use, if I'm going to use one level 2, I have to use 2 of them. Okay? So if I have enough information in here that I go, wow, that's a lot of information, I need to chunk it out. I need to separate it into sections. Then I would decide to separate it into 2 sections or more, but a minimum of 2 sections. I would not use a single level 2 heading. If you have questions about that, let me know. Under the organized writing, headings help to organize our writing, making it easier for our readers to understand. As you write for your nursing program courses, you are asking others to read your discussion postings and group work to which you contribute. You are asking your instructors to read your papers. Please do your best to present information in an organized manner. Clear and accurate writing does not just happen. We must pay attention to our sentence structure, including grammar, punctuation, spelling, and word choices. We must also read what we write and must do so very carefully. Read your writing slowly, out loud, like you would carefully read to an audience. This will help you edit many errors prior to publishing your work. Submitting assignments and posting online is like publishing for other people to read. You should also have other people read your writing, as they will help you find additional errors before publication. Now you may be thinking, I don't have anybody else to read them. Maybe other people around me are not very good writers, and they don't think that they can read my material. Or they're not nurses, and they won't understand what I'm writing about. I can tell you personally, it doesn't matter. Nearly everyone you know can read things on the internet and find mistakes. They can read things in a newspaper or magazine and find mistakes. They don't have to be good writers in order to find mistakes. You have read studies, things in nursing journals, and sometimes you read and you go, wow, I wish that was better organized so I could understand it better. You have an opportunity now to be that kind of clear, organized writer. And just because your spouse is not a nurse does not mean that they can't go through your writing and read it and give you opinions on how it's structured, even if they don't know anything about the subject, and they probably know more than either one of you think. So do have other people read your writing. Then let's go to page breaks. I have a heading down here at the bottom of this page. Where's the message? If I scroll down farther, aha, we find it. Sometimes the heading may happen to fall at or near the bottom of a page, like this one. And the message following the heading appears at the top of the next page, like this one. This can be awkward for your readers. Since the goal in APA is clear, concise communication, we want to do all we can to help our readers understand our message. Page breaks can be inserted to make sure that headings and their accompanying messages stay together. So when this kind of situation happens in your papers, before you submit it, you can put your cursor in front of it and either go to the Insert tab and click Page Break, or hit Control Enter. Well, that didn't work so good. Let's back up from there. How about Control Enter to move it to the next page? Okay, now that we've covered headings and page breaks, you're well on your way to creating the body of your paper. We're going to go now to references and learn about creating APA reference entries. APA references have 4 parts. These parts are called elements. So APA references have 4 elements. You should study the reference list paragraph on page 180 in your APA manual and tab it. You will be referring to it. The first element in an APA reference entry is author information. The second is publication date, the date that the writing was published. The third is title of the writing. And the fourth is other publication info. So we've already covered the publication date, but there's other publication information, like where was it published? And if it's a journal article, what journal is it in? So we'll have to make sure we include that publication information. Each element is finished with a period. Let's cover the first element, the author. Use the author last name, which is also called surname, same thing, last name, surname, and their initials as given in the source. If an author gives you one initial, that's what you will use. If an author in the source gives you two initials, that's what you will use. Sometimes you may have one author that gives only one initial and another author that gives two or more. You use the information given to you in the source. You list authors in the same order as given in the source. You do not move them around to be given in an alphabetical way in that entry. We'll talk more about alphabetizing your reference page later on. But for the individual entry, you will list the authors in the same order as they were given in the article or in the source. Those authors in the source have listed themselves in a progression of who did more in the work. And so we want to honor that by keeping it just as they've given it to us. Do not include credentials. When you look at an article in a journal, you'll see that people are RNs or MDs or CCRNs or PhDs or any number of other credentials. But we don't include those in the reference entries, just the author's surname and initials. We use commas to separate authors and to separate last names and initials. So if we have John Smith and Jane Doe, then we would use Smith, comma, J, comma, period, comma, and Doe, comma, J, period. You'll see more in the examples in your book. Give surnames and initials for up to and including 7 authors, placing an ampersand, that nice little symbol you see there, before the last author. So if I have 2, I'll have first author, initial, ampersand, second author, initial. If I have 5 authors, then I place author number 1 initial, comma, author number 2 initial, comma, and I keep going, author number 4 initial, ampersand, author number 5 initial, period. When authors number 8 or more, include the first 6 and then an ellipsis, the little dots you see there, before the last author's name. Additional details are on page 184, section 127 of your APA manual, with reference examples beginning on page 198. Remember to finish the element, the author element, with a period. Let's look at the publication date element. This one's very simple. The date the source was published in parentheses, period. That's it. Whatever date it became available to people to read, that's the date that goes in there, just the year. Additional details, page 185, and remember to finish the element with a period. The title element is made up of the title and any subtitle separated by a colon. We only capitalize the first letter of the title and of any subtitle and any proper nouns. If needed, please refresh your knowledge of proper and common nouns so you'll know whether or not to capitalize nouns. A title and a subtitle, just to be clear, would be like video tutorial, APA template. So we have a video tutorial, but then we know what's the video tutorial on. The subtitle tells us it's on APA template. And so we would capitalize video, not tutorial, put our colon, capitalize APA, not capitalize template. Italicize the titles of books and non-periodical reports. If you don't remember what a periodical is, it's time to refresh your memory. Additional details on page 185, and remember to finish the element with a period. Our fourth element for our APA reference entry is the publication element. Periodicals, which are journals, newsletters, magazines, things that come out on a periodic basis. So the periodical titles and volume numbers are both italicized and separated by a comma. If each issue of a journal begins with page 1, we give the issue number in parentheses immediately after the volume number. The issue number is not italicized. And you should include any DOIs that are available on the article, in the article. A DOI is a digital object identifier, and you'll learn more about that in your APA template assignment. Remember to finish the element with a period, unless the element ends with a digital address. So if there is a digital address at the end of my publication element, my publication information, then I do not add a period. Okay, now that we've covered references, we're going back to this paper that I put together to give you examples of some of these things. And before we create our actual reference page, we're going to learn a little bit about citations. Citations are any source you utilize in your paper. No, that's not true. Any source you utilize in your paper must be accompanied by an in-text citation that gives the first two elements in parentheses. What are those elements again? Last name of author, date of publication. So any source you utilize in your paper has to be accompanied by the in-text citation with those first two elements. The citation should either appear as part of the narrative or part of the text, or it should appear in parenthetical form. Example 1 covers a citation as part of the narrative. Barnett is cited, and the date is given. Barnett is outside of the parentheses, so it is not a parenthetical citation. The date is always given in parentheses. In example 2, we have no mention of Barnett in the text of our information. So then the author and the date both go in parentheses. That is a parenthetical form of citation. Your readers can follow the citation to the full reference in your reference page, and then using the information you give them there, title and the publication information, your readers can find your original source. That's the whole idea. Citations are created for two reasons: to give credit for the people that have created the information we are using to support what we write in our papers, and to give a breadcrumb trail for our readers to follow our citations to the original source. This is very important. Page 177 in your manual holds Table 6.1 on basic citation styles. You will refer to this again and again and again. Please read it. Please study it. Please tab it so you can find it easily. And please refer to it often. This will save you so much and save your instructors so much by following the guidelines there. I have in these remaining bullet points taken some of the highlights of that table and just put them into a slightly different form. I'm not going to cover them in depth now. I will be putting them into a document that I will put in the APA references in our course. But really, you can find that information in your APA manual very easily. I want to go ahead and make our reference page so that you can see that. So I am going to insert a page break. Actually, I should do this back on our APA template document. So I will go here to page 4 and we'll center and we will write references. Now, I see something wrong with this already. Can you see it? What's wrong with this title? Sure enough, we're centered, but look at here. We have first line indents, right? Because we set those in our document. And that's good. You'll make many more paragraphs that you want first line indented than you will make headings. So set the first line indents and then just remember to correct the headings. Technically, references is not a heading, but now what we'll want to do to form this page is to go back to our paragraph dialog box. This is the only page you will do this on. We will go to the special and we will click hanging. It automatically creates a hanging indent of 1/2 inch. And we say OK. Now I'm going to put my cursor back over to the left and I'm going to type author, name, comma, author, initial, period. There's my first element. Then I'm going to put the date, the year that the item was published, and a period to finish the element. And then I'm going to put title, blah, blah, blah. Title, we'll call it title, blah, blah. And we're going to have a subtitle. So we put a colon and we say subtitle, blah, blah, blah. And we finish the element with a period. Then we have to put the publication information. And in this case, this one came out of the blah journal. And this is a periodical. It came out, well, we'll italicize it first. And it came out of the 10th volume, and in this case we do not need the issue number, so I'll take my italics key off, put a comma, and let's say we have a DOI of XXXX YYYY OOOO JJJJ. And it turns out, well, that's not a digital address, so we will put a period. There we go. Now, can you see how we have a hanging indent right here? Notice the little triangle here is at left indent, and it even says hanging if I go to the upper part of that triangle. Okay, so that's how your references will look. Now as you look at your whole reference page, then all of them up and down have to be alphabetized, starting with A up here and going down the alphabet for the references that you have. Okay, so you may only have 2 references, you may have 10 references, but they all are alphabetized from top to bottom. The last thing that I want to cover with you today has to do with editing. And in order to do that, I'm going to go back to the document that I had created previously. And I'm going to show you, I want to point out errors and how your instructors are going to mark your errors. So I'm going to let you know that on the Home tab, there's this button called a Show Hide symbol. Now, you may not want to actually write your paper with the Show Hide symbol on. You may find it distracting. However, you should at least put the Show Hide symbol on before you submit your paper, before you finalize it for submission. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what it will do. It will mark every character in your paper. Okay, so there's a dot, you'll notice, between every word there's a dot. And what that marks is the space key. At the end of the sentence you will see 2 dots because I spaced twice. This mark looks like a backwards P, tells you every time I hit the enter key. I hit it at the end of this sentence so I could make my next heading. I hit it at the end of the heading so I could make my next paragraph. Okay? So this will help you go through and make sure that you have the correct marks in the correct places. Let's see, I want to show you, like on your title page. Let me pop back to the other document real quick and go up here to the title page, put the Show Hide on. See all the enter buttons that we did in order to get down to make our title block? And then after the title block, we put a page break. When I check over your papers, I will be looking to see if you have page breaks in the right places. If you have extra spaces you shouldn't have. Things like that. I'm going back to my previously prepared document then to show you what this little arrow means. This little arrow means that you have tabbed. You've hit the tab key. Well, I actually created this before I put first line indents in this document, and so I had tabbed. But since we should be writing first line indents, you won't have tabs in your document, unless perhaps you forget and use it anyway. So what you see here is that it's first line indented on this line, and then it was tabbed. Okay, so what I might do then, is what I would do, is point this out to you as I checked your paper. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go to the Review tab, and I have 2 ways of communicating with you. I can either write you a comment and say, do not add the tab key. All you needed was the first line indent that you already had set. Okay? Or, I'll back out of that. What I might do is I'll turn on track changes, and I have this highlighted. I might delete it. And then you can see that I have put a deletion line through your tab key mark. And this blue line over here shows up to let you know something was edited there, a change was made. Now, if you didn't have the Show Hide symbol on to check over the paper, it's still pretty clear, but it might be easier to know if you have the Show Hide symbol on, then you'll see the arrow. If there are any other show height symbols that you see that you don't understand, feel free to look them up on the internet. This one here, which you won't see in an APA paper, is know that there are bullets set. So I hope that helps you understand. One other thing, if I'm in here with track changes on and I say, let's see, you should have included the, oops, I'm going to start that over, included information on how to write an introduction. Oops. I can leave you a message like that, okay? And again, you'll see the blue line. You'll know that I made changes. If I use the comment one, then it all opens up, as you saw, this markup area, and I can write, all kinds of comments over here. Hopefully you'll understand them. If you don't, please let me know so that I can help you, again, make the best product that you can possibly make. Thank you for watching this tutorial on making an APA template. I hope it just helps you create some awesome work.